The general rule for question period is to submit any questions for the first question period before 5 o'clock. Otherwise, you risk missing the deadline and getting onto the agenda for us to be able to answer your question. However, we're being very liberal and trying to not do that. And any questions that have come in, we're going to answer tonight. Je veux dire aussi que pour la deuxième période de questions, le greffier ou le directeur de communication va nous dire le moment exact quand c'est possible d'écrire vos questions dans le chat. Questions that are sent to period de questions at côtesaintluc.org, question period at côtesaintluc.org. Avant de prendre un moment de silence, je veux juste introduire les membres du conseil. So we have with us Stephen Erdely, myself, the mayor. This is how I see it on the screen. Councillor Mike Cohen, Councillor Dieter Burku, Councillor Oren Sabag, Councillor David Torgman, Councillor Sidney Ben-Isri, Councillor Mitch Kajaski, and our city manager, Jonathan Schechter, and other members of staff who you see their names. Before we start the meeting, I'd like to just take a moment of silence to remember all those who we have lost and those that are presently in hospital and wish for their speedy recovery. Okay, so before we start the meeting, I just want to give a few updates about what's been going on since our last meeting. The first deals with the situation of COVID-19 in our city and in Montreal. And I want to thank the residents of Côte Saint-Luc. I have to say that we are all very proud of how you have been doing as residents of our city. We had the pilot project where many parents had that opportunity to get vaccinated, and it's clear that many did. And as a result of more people being vaccinated in our city, our ranking has improved, and we're doing better in terms of the number of cases as compared to other cities. And that's good news. But in order for us to continue to improve and for the situation to improve for all of us for the summer and for all Quebecers, we need to get vaccinated. So we're having our campaign going on to try to convince each and every one of you to take the opportunity to get vaccinated at the earliest possible convenience. Appointments are opening up, as you know, by May the 14th for anyone over the age of 18. And afterwards, they're going to be opening up the age group for individuals that are in high school as well. And they're hoping to even give them a second dose before September. So if we take advantage of all of these the science that is in front of us, we should be in a much better situation as the time moves forward. I'd also like to make mention of a few things that have happened since the last meeting. Many of you may know, I'm not sure if you do, that the Cavendish Extension route has gone to the BAP, or is going to the BAP in the month of May. That's the Bureau d'Audience Publique. In order for it to be presented in its present form, as we all know, the indirect route out of Côte Saint-Luc that connects through Dalton, Jean Talon, and connects to the Carré and to the 20. And that is good news, as it's a step forward, at least in the right direction. So that's something that happened, and I presented a motion at the AGLO a couple of weeks ago on that issue, which was supported unanimously by the City of Montreal and all the demerged mayors. On the issue of bilingual status, we'll be presenting a resolution at the end of the meeting to support the preservation of bilingual status in our city, as well as in all cities that were granted bilingual status in 1977 with Bill 101, which were in the range of 84 cities and 6 boroughs in today's terms that have bilingual status. And that will be presented as an additional item at the end of the meeting. As well, Councillor Sabag will give an update on something very special in Côte Saint-Luc that we're doing now, which is training our EMS potential EMS volunteers. So he'll be talking to you about that. It's really big news for our city to have that ability to train people in emergency medical services. I want to thank the Kovac family for their excellent support during the blood drive. Ruth Kovac, the late Ruth Kovac, Councillor Kovac, that was one of her passions. And they had this blood donor clinic for many, many years. And her husband, Peter, and the three children, Jeffrey, Debbie and Tammy, were all there from the minute it opened to the minute it closed. And there was a very special feeling when people gave blood because the Kovacs were there and you felt Ruth's presence. So je veux remercier toute la famille de Kovac et les conseillers Torgman et Sebag, qui étaient les personnes qui ont travaillé pour la donation de ça. We're also going to be opening up our pool soon and our library. And Councillor Torgman will explain a little bit about the opening of our library with respect to the pool. I guess Councillor Kajewski will speak about that, but we're aiming for, if everything goes well with respect to training and certain repairs, that we open up for Victoria Day weekend, and the same rules that applied last year will apply this year. I spoke to Dr. Kaiser and he said, follow the same rules that you had last year that were sent down from Santé Publique. So what we did last year, we're planning to do again. Then I think those are the big items. And also we're going to talk a little bit about mail-in ballots later on in the meeting. So with all that said, we will start with question period. And I will ask Maître Prévost to start with the questions. Okay, Maître Prévost, you can ask the first question. What's happening here? Can someone unmute me? Somebody needs to unmute you. Okay, I see if I can do it. I don't know. Can I unmute? Somehow I can't. Is there something going on here that we can't unmute?
Okay, I think we're good to go.
We did it.
Yeah,
okay.
We're good. Okay, so we'll start with the first question. It's from Lorna Beerbrier. I was very concerned to read in the Gazette that our current government is planning on challenging the bilingual status of Côte Saint-Luc. Could you please enlighten me?
Okay, well, that is on the agenda for tonight. As a matter of fact, we have a resolution that we're going to be passing at the end of the meeting where we will be taking a very strong position. We were granted bilingual status in 1977 when Bill 101, it was a guaranteed right entrenched in the charter, not to be taken away. And now there was a little talk about it. There's no law before us, but there's been some discussion between the CAQ and the PQ who brought it up, and the CAQ said they'll look into it. But in fact, in 2013, when there was a minority government, it was the Liberals and the CAQ that supported our position of maintaining all bilingual status for all cities and boroughs who had it. So we will be presenting a resolution at the end of this meeting, and we're definitely going to be leaders in that. There's also an opinion piece in the Gazette tomorrow. It's already online, and you can read it in the Gazette tomorrow that I wrote and is being printed in the Gazette. Okay, next question.
The next question is from Norman Sabin. Côte Saint-Luc has a population of over 32,000, and with the time, many residents will have to do medical imaging, x-rays, ultrasounds, mammograms, bone densities are examples of imaging that might be needed, not to mention MRIs or CTs. But where does a Côte Saint-Luc resident go for such imaging? The closest centers are in Côte des Neiges and Eastern NDG, and parking is challenging. The reality is there is no medical imaging open to the public in Côte Saint-Luc. Mount Sinai Hospital does x-rays and ultrasounds, but only for its inpatients. My question to council is whether this is a problem. Should Côte Saint-Luc have a center for medical imaging open to the public and easy to access? Is this worth approaching the Ministry of Health for? I could see where the Cavendish Mall or DeCarry Square could host such a center, keeping in mind reporting can be done by radiologists at any hospital, with all reports sent to the DSQ. In my opinion, this goal should be pursued to improve healthcare for Côte Saint-Luc residents and neighboring communities.
Thank you for your question. It's something really that I'm not a specialist in. I know we have the CLSC, which provides certain services right at the Cavendish Mall, but in terms of imaging, there are different clinics and of course hospitals in different areas where you can do so. And in terms of expanding it, it wouldn't be the city that would be able to do so, but we could certainly follow up, and I'll follow up with our public safety department to see what is available so that we can provide better information through communications and what additional services may be able to be coming to our city in the future. But thank you for your question. Okay, next question.
The next question is from Lorna Beerbrier. There is a lovely median in the middle of Cavendish at the north end where trees were recently planted. I would like to ask the city to put benches and picnic tables there as well. Also, the road on the west side of Cavendish at that area, and especially the cutoff leading to Louis Pasteur, is badly in need of repair. Will you be doing anything in the near future?
Well, presently we have ordered a lot of benches and a lot of picnic tables for our city, and we're going to be placing them everywhere. So we will take note of this particular request. I would ask the city manager to make sure that the appropriate departments receive this comments, and that follow-up is done with respect to putting the area at the end of Louis Pasteur that is mentioned into the best possible repair, and the possibility of putting benches there, because I know we've ordered many. We understand that during COVID, it's better, if whenever possible, even if the rules change, to eat outdoors and to enjoy the outdoors. So we'll have less spread of COVID. So it's a very good question and a very good recommendation. So I thank you.
Okay, the next question is from Heather Treston. The issue is concerning the all-day traffic and congestion on Eldridge because of the two synagogues on Eldridge close to Kildare. There's nowhere for the residents to park on the street because parking is taken up by the congregants. My question is, why can't the city's traffic committee modify signage and regulations to accommodate the owners of the duplexes and the renters? This is a very narrow street. This area was built as residential, not a business.
But we had a similar request for the area near Haywood and Redwood, and we did put some signage there. So we'll look into it. I appreciate the question, and we'll look into see what we can do with respect to that area. And this should be referred to the traffic committee. Any other questions?
Yes, the next question is from Bram Schuster. I was quite surprised to find the brochure regarding the new garbage bins in my mail recently. The postage alone was either $1.89 or $1.92. This was a week later, I received another mailing regarding the water analysis, which given the aforementioned really aggravated me. First off, why does the garbage bin mailing have to be in 8x10 format, colored and mailed? I would say conservatively, your total cost to reach each household for these garbage bins is $3. Further aggravating the situation is to receive the water analysis correspondence 10 days later separately. The goal of these mailings should be to reach the recipients in the most cost-efficient manner possible. This is not a company spending $3 to try and sell you a $15,000 roof. I would argue if the mailings correspondence cost the city X amount and could be reduced to barely anything by using technology, I believe the taxpayers will be on board. Is this the most important issue facing the city? And that's it.
Thank you. I'm going to ask for the Director of Communications, Darrell Levine, to send a private email to Mr. Schuster with answers to all of his questions, so that he has specific answers of why it was mailed in the way that it was and why that was felt to be the most cost effective. Because I'm not the expert, but I know that the Director of Communications did his best to try to find a way to do this cost effectively. And the initiative is an important one. The exact costs I don't have in front of me, so I couldn't verify whether your guesstimates are correct or not, but we will get you that information. Always with the intention of providing the best possible information at the most economic price. So we do appreciate your concern and your ideas, and we'll get back to you with full facts to see how close you are in terms of your guesstimates and the reasoning exactly why we did it the way that we did. But thank you for the question, and Councillor Lee would like to add. So go ahead, Councillor Lee.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't get into the cost of the mailing. However, just to add one point, the reason the mailing had to be mailed and not sent by, let's say, Canada Post in sort of general mail was because it's only intended for certain homes or certain addresses. So, for example, it was not sent to condos because if you can imagine, it doesn't apply to those residents who are living in condos. And the same thing for townhouses. There were some townhouses where it is applicable, depending on how their waste is done at each townhouse complex. There's different types of rules and so on. So for that reason, it had to be mailed individually because we didn't want it to go, like I said, to condos, to apartment buildings, and to certain townhouses. In terms of the cost, like I said, I don't have the answers, but I'm sure Director Levine will be able to share more with that on that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. And I know as the portfolio councillor responsible for finance, you're always on top of trying to do things the most economic way that we can. So we will follow up with you on the details, Mr. Schuster. Next question, please, Maître Prévost. Your headphones aren't working, Maître Prévost, but it's the next question.
No, I was on mute again. Thank you to the host. Okay, so the last question is for Simon Azoua. Are you aware that the lights on Cavendish intersections at Mackle, the Avenue, and Kildare are not synchronized? I encourage you to visit the intersection at any time during the day for you to see the frustrating status many drivers endure every day. Can we please get an update by the next council meeting of the steps that will be taken by the city to fix this situation?
Thank you for that question, and we are very aware of the problem with respect to the lights on Cavendish, and we've had consultants come in on several occasions to try to improve the situation. The issue is because we have buttons to push to allow for people to cross both at the Avenue as well as at Cavendish and Kildare and Cavendish and Mackle. Every time that somebody pushes that button, the system cannot immediately go back to a routine where it's going to be perfectly synchronized because of the fact that somebody might be walking at that particular intersection but not at the other. So no matter how many experts and how much money we put into this, we can never get it to be perfectly smooth. But what we have been successful in doing, and people should note that a young high school student was killed at the corner of Cavendish and Kildare many years ago, is that the fact that we have these dedicated crosswalks with buttons to push has improved the safety and security of our residents, which of course is the most important thing. But we'll continue to see what we can do better, but all the experts say there's not very much if we want to maintain the safety and security of those three crosswalks. Any other questions?
No, that's it for first question period.
Thank you so much. And as I said earlier, I'll remind everybody again, Maître Prévost and Director Levine will be taking note of when the questions for the second question period are available to start coming in on the chat, and they will make it very clearly noted in the chat, and we'll make an announcement so people can have more than enough time to get in all their questions for second question period. Okay, so now that that has been done, let's move to the next item, which is approval of the minutes. Councillor Cohen.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I couldn't get the unmuting going. It's okay. It's fine. Okay, Mr. Mayor, I so move that minutes from the special meeting of April 12th, 2021 be approved.
Moved by Councillor Cohen and seconded by Councillor Ben-Israel. Okay, any comments? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we move on to item number 3, business arising from the minutes. No.
I didn't move both minutes, Mr. Mayor. There were minutes from the regular meeting as well, April 12th. I guess the resolution could cover both.
Yes, so moved by Councillor Cohen, seconded by Councillor Ben-Israel. All in favor? So everybody's in favor of both minutes. And if there's any business arising from either minutes? So we'll go to the departmental reports, and that would be Mitch Kajewski that will be moving the departmental reports. Councillor Kajewski.
I so move the departmental reports. Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Kajewski, seconded by Councillor Erdely, I think, or Councillor Georgeman. Councillor Georgeman. All in favor? Oh, no, not all. Wait, first comments before we even vote on it. So all the comments, everybody wants to speak on the departmental reports, then we'll vote on it. Councillor Georgeman, and then I'll go after you, Councillor Georgeman first, then Councillor Cohen.
Mr. Mayor,
Sound is weird. Director Newman, your mute button, please. For some reason. Okay. Okay.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few things on what's going on at the library. What happened in the last month is there was a Jane's Walk, and that was a fantastic experience. I think you should watch it on Facebook. It's a look back on Randall. Talks about the farming history, the architecture, and the history of Côte Saint-Luc, really. And it was a fascinating thing to watch. And I want to thank Director Janine West and Dita and Daryl Levine, our Director of Communications, who were involved in making that. And I thought it was very informative and fun to watch. I want to thank Michaela Chen for spearheading a program for mental health in partnership with DiaKids and the various diabetes foundations in Canada. And the library is involved with them in this program to make finger puppets for kids, to make them smile. And there'll be more information on the csllibrary.org website. You'll find out more about how to make the finger puppets, and we'll actually have materials to give. And those finger puppets will go back to the kids that are suffering from various, issues related to diabetes, and it'll put a smile on a kid's face. And what's wrong with that? That's the perfect thing to do. One more thing on the library, and this is the great news. We're gradually reopening, keeping everyone safe, keeping our staff safe, keeping the public safe. And it's going to be by appointment. Please check out the csllibrary.org website to find out more. But by appointment, it's going to be Monday to Thursday from 10 a.m. till 8 p.m., Friday to Sunday from 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. And you're going to have 2-hour slots. So we've expanded the amount of time that you can get access to the library. We are doing some renovations on the carpet, which we had announced at a previous meeting. And so we're going to make sure that all of that is coordinated to minimize the disturbance. And our no contact pickup is still active. So please check out the Côte Saint-Luc Library website for all of those details and to register. On engineering, where the line painting has started throughout the city. The design of the reconstruction of 2 streets is underway. Sidewalk repairs and road resurfacing is well underway, and that's going great. And one little plug for a community organization called CARE. It's being run out of the Wager High School. It's a phenomenal program for adults over 21 that are suffering from various disabilities. Many are nonverbal. Phenomenal program, and there's, so we're targeting the Wagar alumni, and there's a lot of you out there. So there's a donation program that's being run on various social media. Mine is one of them, so please check it out. I'm at, we're getting donations for this program, so I appreciate any support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Georgeman. And it is very good news on the library, and we're very happy. And when I spoke to Dr. Kaiser, both with respect to the pool and the library, I was told that we're following the same rules that we had last year, and if we follow those rules, hopefully everything's going to be great for the summer and people will stay safe. On the issue, Director Levine, if you're available, of the Jane's Walk, I meant to say that at the top of the meeting, but I'm going to say it now, because it was an amazing event. And I just happened to grow up on Borden, right in front of McDowell Park. So when it started and they said, we're going to start the walk from McDowell Park, it was like looking out my window. And then we moved up on all those streets, which were really, many of them built in the 30s as Art Deco homes, and some still exist. And of course, both Councillor Markowitz, who was on the other side of the park on Mackle, was there, and Councillor Greenspawn was in another area in that little area, and you made beautiful tributes to them both. So I don't know if you wanted to show anything now for a minute, which would be fine. I'll let you speak for itself and encourage people to watch the whole thing.
So walking from Côte Saint-Luc Road down Randall, we will point out the more interesting homes built in the 1930s and 40s. These homes were built in the modernist style with Art Deco features. And what is very interesting is that it's unique to have such a cluster of homes in Montreal and in Côte Saint-Luc in particular. So you can see them all lined up here with this Art Deco features. And we will describe and give you the history of each home as we go through them.
Thank you.
One cannot walk down Randall Avenue without noticing some of the very unique white modern homes. Often.
Okay, well, thank you very much. No, you did a great job, your whole team, and Jeannie West, our librarian, and Councillor Burko and your whole team did a wonderful job, and I recommend everybody watch it. I mean, I grew up there since 1964 when I was a little kid, so it really touched me. And there was, like I said, beautiful tributes to two former city councillors who served our city for a very long time, Councillor Markowitz and Councillor Greenspawn. So their families should also be sent the link, and they should see the wonderful tributes. Okay, the next person I think was Councillor Cohen. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maybe we need to change that name of that walk to Dita's Walk or Janine's Walk. You know, we might need to change that. Could be a part of our planning. Just by the way, follow up to what Councillor Torchman said. I'm also a proud graduate of Wagar High School, the class of 1980, and I donated to the cause today. I want to commend Councillor Torchman, and I want to commend Tamar Hertz, who's spearheading this. I think it's a fantastic situation. I think it's about time that we have people in the community stand behind Wagar. It's now the Wagar Adult Education Center, and a lot of people are not aware, but the building is absolutely full. The Wagar Adult Education Center also has a very significant special needs program. They made national news earlier this year because they have a grocery store, a model grocery store inside where the special needs students are learning how to work at a grocery store, and they even go to the warehouse of a Maxi, and it's absolutely fantastic, the stuff that's going on in there. There's also the John Grant High School, which is also for special needs high school students. So the building is humming, and I think we need to be proud of it. And as you know, Mr. Mayor, they're working on a major renovation of the auditorium with air conditioning, refurnishing all the seating, handicapped access, so that when this pandemic does end, we'll have a state-of-the-art facility that we'll be able to use for perhaps our Dramatic Society and others. So there's lots to look forward to, and I think this is the beginning. And I agree with Councillor Torsion. We need to reach out to all Wagar alumni because the CARE program needs to finance itself. They're not, they need to bring in their own financial dollars, and they usually have a fundraising gala, which Councillor Kujavsky and I attended 2 years ago. And of course, that has not been able to happen. And it was a phenomenal event. Just a couple of items I wanted to bring up. The traffic committee chaired by Councillor Torchman has assisted me greatly working on Marc Chagall. We have a lot of issues on that street. People have been complaining about the speeding. Now, speeding is an epidemic across Côte Saint-Luc right now. I have to tell you, I'm seeing it now 5 days a week, and I see the speeding in all parts of Côte Saint-Luc. We really need our police to start nabbing these speeders and giving them tickets. But on Marc Chagall, we have a new bump out sidewalk, which has been installed. Now, some residents have already called me concerned. They don't think cars are going to be able to get through it. I just wanted to ask if I could, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Torchman, in case any of them are watching, have you seen the new bump out sidewalk? Have you seen what it looks like? Because I'm wondering if the concerns of the residents are merited, that they feel like trucks can't get through there.
No, I went to go visit the site. No, absolutely. The engineering was done to ensure that there could be safe passage of even 2 trucks. Obviously, if they're going at the speed limit, which is now 30 kilometers an hour. So if they follow the speed limits, there'll be no issues.
Okay, so that's what I'm telling people, but it just was done last week, so we got to give it some time. But I'm taking walks and I'm I'm certainly going to look at it myself and watching and kind of standing and analyzing. Also, next door, the lot, the owners of the Equinox are finally cleaning up that lot. They tried to clean it up last fall. It was not successful, so they're doing more seeding. Thank you to Urban Planning and Public Works for getting on their back. I know Beatrice Newman and her team are waiting anxiously to beautify the area, hopefully by the end of May, because the people there sure deserve it. They put up with that ugly parking lot for 3 years. So we're gonna have a very beautiful grassy area with benches and some maybe some new trees. So I'm really looking forward to that coming up this summer. As well, Mayor Brownstein and I held a consultation with residents, with users of the basketball court at Rembrandt Park 2 Fridays ago. It was, we had some teacher and some students from Bialik. We had, I formed a committee of residents living in the vicinity who are my new basketball advisory committee. And I want to thank Dahlia Mohammed and Cornelia Ziga for coming to join us that day, and as well as members of the Public Works Department, John Montero, and some other staff. It was quite a gathering. And Mayor Brownstein, thank you for stepping up and working with us so that we are now going to have not only a brand new, beautiful basketball court, which is going to be, construction is going to start hopefully by the end of this month, if not early June, but also a half court for the young kids. Because what we learned from our basketball advisors from J Hoops is that the little kids, and I see it myself, get kicked off the court when the older people come to play basketball there. So we're going to have a half court. So everyone is really, really excited about this. The demographics of Rembrandt have changed dramatically over the last decade. There's a lot of young families living in the actual condos on Rembrandt now. And I've gotten to know a lot of the families, a lot of the kids from my regular visits to Rembrandt Park. And so that's really utilized. And it's also right now not very safe, that basketball court. So we're going to fix a lot of things with that. And just two other things quickly. Just reminding everyone to microchip their dogs and their cats. I'm hearing from people who are, someone just called me recently. He lived in Hampstead, but his cat escaped. It was a house cat and he was petrified, and he found the cat the next day right next door, hiding in the bushes, shivering and scared. But the fact is that the cat had been microchipped, and God forbid you lose your animal. If it shows up at the vet or the SPCA and they microchip it, it'll be returned to you right away. And if it's not, it could be sent out for adoption to somebody else. And just one last thing, I established last year a district advisory council. I, of course, spearheaded the district meetings. I now have a district advisory council with representatives from every building in my district, every street of my district. We've been meeting every few months for the past year, and it's been a very successful exercise. And specifically during COVID, it's been a great exchange of information where buildings are helping buildings, learning about how they're dealing with COVID, how are they dealing with anti-maskers, and so on and so forth. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, and that is my report for today.
Thank you, Councillor Cohen. Councillor Italy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll start on the finance side. A reminder to residents that, as you know, we pushed back the days for property tax. So the first installment is due on May 27th. The second one is due on August 25th. And remember, it's due May 27th, but it's best to pay it a day or two early, even when doing it through your bank, just to make sure that it doesn't get delayed in the processing. We don't want anyone to incur any late fees or penalties. Also on the finance side, the city has been working and finalizing the audit, and we'll be presenting you the details next month at next month's council meeting. So it's almost finalized, but not completely. Also want to share about rebates for water filters. In the last month, the city has processed 48 filter rebates. Some are the $50 kinds, which are the filters that go in a pitcher or on the sink, and about $200 for the filters that go under the sink. And a reminder, if you live in one of the homes that may have lead pipes, we recommend you get one of these filters. And it's a very simple process. I was just looking at it before on the city website. You can apply very easily for the rebates. Also, just to share a few more updates, we reopened the front counter on April 27th. And the goal was to allow those residents who had questions who weren't able to ask them by phone to come in person. Obviously, it's done safely and keeping in mind COVID regulations. On the environment front, I wanted to share one of my projects that I've been pushing for many years that I'm happy to see slowly coming to fruition. We've hit 526 streetlights that have been switched over to LEDs. And for those over on 79 different streets, obviously there's still a few thousand to go. We have about 2,500 to 3,000 streetlights in the city. So we're about 1/5 of the way there. But you may have noticed on some of the main streets being done recently, Côte Saint-Luc Road, for example, in Cavendish. And just a note for residents, in some cases, depending on the condition of the existing pole and the base, so in some cases, they've replaced the base, which is the concrete portion that's in the ground, and the pole itself. So depending on the condition of the pole, so that's why you may notice some are done a little differently. But the goal is if we're not sure about the condition, or if the base could be old and not in a strong condition or good condition, it's being replaced as well along with the pole. And of course, the LED fixtures are added. And the goal in the long term is to be more environmentally friendly, spend less on electricity. And I know we've already communicated to Hydro in terms of readjusting our rates based on this, and also to produce better light and make it safer for drivers. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ehrlich. Anyone else? Councillor Kajowski and then Councillor Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So rather than go on about Parks and Recreation activities, I'll say a couple of things very brief. Thing number one, sign up for our recreation newsletter, because some feedback I've been getting from some residents that people missed out on certain things and aren't being kept apprised of many activities that the department offers. So go on the CôteSaintLuc.org website, sign up for the recreation newsletter so you'll receive those emails and you'll be kept up to date on all our program offerings. And secondly, I'd just like to thank the entire Parks and Recreation staff, in particular Director Ziga, for their hard work over the last several months in getting us ready for our gradual reopening. We've got the pool that's going to be opening soon. Other activities starting up. Day camp is completely sold out, so that's great news. Kids will be outside. Kids will be, acting relatively normal this summer, hopefully. So thank you very much to the staff. Thank you to Cornelia for all your work, and hopefully we can get back to normal and get vaccinated if you're eligible, please. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kajowski. And yeah, and the movement is happening with respect to Kerwin Park. Tenders getting ready to be drafted and to go out soon, and hopefully we'll be breaking ground. And we've taken a lot of recommendations also with that about soccer and basketball in terms of doing whatever we can in phase 1 and also in the phase 2 after we get to the tennis club, hopefully in a few years. So all good stuff. Councillor Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. So I just want to report on the project that I'm working on, and that we were awarded a grant to undertake a living lab project, which is basically an outgrowth of our smart city project. So it's smart homes for seniors. Basically, this project is to allow the city and its partners at the Université de Montréal and at Séance to create a connected framework leveraging smart devices, technologies that will allow seniors to live more safely and independently in their homes. It's a research project, and it will happen over the next 3 years, 2022, 2023, 2024, has a fairly significant budget of about $300,000 a year, but most of it is going to the researchers who are going to be implementing all these smart devices in seniors' homes. And we're soon going to, roll it out and explain it to the public, and then start recruiting seniors in their homes to participate in this project. So I'm very pleased to, it's a pre-announcement. It's not the official announcement yet. We're probably going to have to do a bigger announcement in the coming weeks. And I'm very happy that worked out. Thank you.
Excellent. All the work that you did on Smart Cities, Councillor Burku, with staff is paying off. And I don't know if you want to speak anything about the local commerce initiative that's moving forward or starting.
Well, we're trying with the local commerce initiative. We've had 2 meetings with local merchants, and we've reached out to all the merchants to ask them if they want to, first of all, participate in our database so that we can set up basically a website, an interactive website that is going to allow them to promote their products online, and also to maybe partner with one of the suppliers, basically, who is interested in doing online commerce with the merchants. And we're working on it. It's a work in progress. And the Public Works has already got all the outdoor equipment, chairs, lawn chairs, picnic tables, things like that are going to be set up at different strip malls and at different shopping centers throughout the city. Slowly but surely, we're making those moves, and I hope that the strip malls and the shopping centers are going to collaborate with us so that we can really have people eat and enjoy the outdoors and encourage local commerce at the same time.
So we had a meeting with the Carey Square merchants.
Yeah.
We had a meeting with First Capital from the Côte Saint-Luc Shopping Center, and also
Right.
with
Cavendish Mall.
Michael from Cavendish Mall. And the
Right.
goal of the city is also with the PMU, there are certain grants that are available to merchants, and they should know that. We're encouraging and also providing tables and chairs in certain areas for people to be able, particularly now, to eat outdoors when it's allowed on terraces. And also we have this app. We want residents
Curbside pickup.
Curbside pickup. We want to support our local merchants, and we want our residents to buy locally. So even if it's a non-essential item, they could just go onto the website, ask for what they want. If they want to get a toy for their kid, they drive up, it's brought out to them after they've paid for it online. It's all done seamless on a Côte Saint-Luc merchant app. So I want to thank Councillor Burku and the whole team for working on that, and I think it's going to be great.
Well,
So not only
we're
for COVID, it's going to be good for always to help our local businesses and our residents be able to shop locally, even for non-essential things safely. So that's all great work. Okay, anybody else who wants to speak? Councillor Sabag.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everybody. I wanted to first of all reiterate the very touching scene that we had at the Ruth Kovac donation or blood donor clinic with the flower at the end of everybody that came in. That was very touching, very nice to see the family together. I think we hit 117 people, which is a great accomplishment. I just want to remind everybody, you don't have to wait once a year to give blood at the blood drive. You could do it 6 times a year, every 56 days or so. And I think Hampstead is doing one in 2 or 3 months. So register. It's really, really super important. And I want to thank and commend everybody who was involved in getting this done. I do want to give you guys some statistics real quick on dispatch. I know this is one of those areas that we've always been trying to improve on in responding to our residents. We've actually reduced the amount of time that you wait on the phone before being responded to. The average time now is 39 seconds, and we've responded to over 87.5% of the calls in under 30 seconds. So that's a huge accomplishment. We're really trying to get dispatch to do a lot more in terms of the responsiveness towards residents' needs. The average, by the way, is about 2 minutes and 28 seconds on call with a particular residence. I want to give you a fun statistic. It's the first time I'm doing it But we do have a deal with the SPCA. And so part of public safety is sometimes taking care of animals as well. We've actually saved about 11 animals, 3 cats, 1 bird, and 7 other mammals that I have here on my data. So 2 of them were adopted, which is really cool. And 3 were brought back into the wild. So I thought this data was super interesting. I shared it with Councillor Cohen just before the call. And I want to, certainly commend our folks. We're a fun-loving animal city, so it's great to see this happening. Real briefly on the EMS side, well, huge news coming out of EMS. We've established our own EMS school. It's actually the first one in Montreal, in Laval. Some other places have it, but they're pretty far out. But it's a huge accomplishment. I want to commend the significant work of Philippe Chateauvert, Director Chateauvert, and Division Chief Eddie Afram for driving this so hard and making it very simple for a city to actually now have our own pre-hospital care center. I registered. I'm in the first cohort. It's absolutely amazing. We have tremendous facilitators and instructors, and the more I study it, the more I realize how amazing this is to have in our town. We save lives every day. I've worked in hospitals, etc., and I could tell you it's absolutely amazing to have this type of service. By doing so, we are now cementing ourselves in pre-hospital care. The days of having our EMS pulled away from under our feet are long gone. So I want to certainly tell everybody, if you're interested, we're always trying to get new recruits, and now the school is right here at the ACC. So if you want to participate in the second cohort, go right ahead. I will say this: as soon as the press release came out, there are towns that are already knocking on our door to train their staff. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to be on the map as a leader in pre-hospital care. I'm going to end it by letting you guys know that actually, I'm not going to end it with that, but I'm going to end it with another mention of years of service. But before that, I want to remind everybody I am having my town hall meeting / information session on May 19th at 7 p.m. It's going to be virtually. I am completely floored by the number of emails I got. I think we're already registered at 70 people. So it's absolutely amazing to see the interest. We'll be covering the Carey Square. The mayor will be joining me as well, talking about some other initiatives and other pain points that some of our residents have been experiencing over the past couple of years, and some more chronic issues that we've had for also a long time. So we'll be covering all of that. We have a plan as well that we'll be bringing to council, hopefully in the next 30 days or so, on VCOP reintegration. I hope to see that happen for the summer. Very hopeful that VCOPs will be back on the road very shortly. I just want to mention, as I do usually in my address, is the years of service of Yannick Bouchard, 3 years at EMS, Alexandre Gagné, 3 years, Josephine Chou, 3 years, Philippe Chateauvert, 7 years, our own director, François Julien, 5 years, Luc Machon, 15, and Phil Voutoumis at 12 years. And taking the course and seeing what they do, I got to tell you, I'm really impressed by the number of years of service. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to honor these folks.
Thank you, Councillor Sabag. And I went to that first session of the training, and I was very impressed by the professionalism of the training and the amount of interest, including Councillor Sabag being there, being trained. There's a lot of interest, and it's not easy to get into that course. You need to apply, and a lot of people, I think it was 50 or 60 people applied, and only, I think there's space for 12. So that's
Because of COVID, 8. So
eight.
yeah, so
Anyway, it was really touching to see, and we're lucky that we can do this. And I want to congratulate all those who gave blood, and I want to make mention of our own staff, like Director Levine. It was his 45th time that he gave blood. Amazing for you, Director Levine. Our staff takes such an interest in participating in this, as well as many first timers. There were so many first timers, including my daughter. So, you know, it's something that Hema Quebec wants to even double next year. They said we could have even 250 people. We have a big gym. So it's a great service. And you know, Ruth Kovac will be watching down as we expand and her legacy. Good work, guys. Councillor Torchman wanted to add something.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just there's a thing that I forgot to mention. The library. When I mentioned the library opening, again, we're doing it gradually. It's going to start opening as of May 25th, but the no contact pickup is still continuing. So it's May 25th. Thanks.
Anybody else? That's it. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. The departmental reports, all in favor? Carried unanimously. And now we move on to item number 5, which is financial information technology, item 5A, which is Councillor Ertley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the loan bylaws mentioned in the first paragraph of the preamble be financed by bonds in accordance with the following conditions. The bonds, 1 bond per maturity, will be dated May 28th, 2021. Interest will be payable semi-annually on May 28th and November 28th of each year. The bonds will not be redeemable in advance. However, they may be redeemed with the consent of the holders in accordance with the Act regulating municipal debts and loans. The bonds will be registered in the name of the Canadian Depository for Securities Limited, CDS, and filed with it. CDS will act on behalf of its participants as book entry agent, bond agent, paying agent, and transaction agent for its participants. CDS will proceed with the transfer of funds according to the legal requirements of the bonds, and for that purpose, the Côte Saint-Luc City Council authorizes the City Treasurer to sign the documents required by the Canadian banking system entitled Autorisation pour le plan de débit préautorisé destiné aux entreprises. CDS will make payments of the principal and interest to the members through electronic fund transfers, and for this purpose, CDS will directly withdraw the required amounts from the following account: Royal Bank of Canada, Cavendish Kildare branch, and that the bond shall be signed by the mayor and the city treasurer. The city of Côte Saint-Luc, as entitled by law, has mandated CDS to act as its fiscal authenticator agent, and the bonds will only become valid once they have been authenticated.
So that's been moved by Councillor Ertley, seconded by Councillor Burku. Any discussion?
So just to explain briefly, so this actually deals with, it goes back to, let me just count here, 2, 4, 6, 7 loans that were taken out back in 2006. It includes, I'll just give a few of the items. It includes repairs to roads and sidewalks, the Cavendish underpass pump station, the roof of different city buildings, including the City Hall building, some synchronized traffic lights on Cavendish, which are need to be upgraded again after 15 years, and some work at the library, and as well, the biggest chunk was long-term debt that we, I guess, got back after the demerger. So just as an individual every 5 years or so, and I do this every few years, just as an individual refinances their mortgage every 5 years and you get a new rate, the same is true for the city on its loan. So this goes back to 2006. So we're now entering the final 5 years of these of this loan, so this gives authorization to the city treasurer, who has reached out through the CDS, and we'll get different rates from the different branches and different banks, and we hope, of course, we'll get a low rate. And I'll have more to report on this at next month's council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Councillor Cohen? Okay, carried unanimously. And now we move to the next item, which is item 5B, Councillor Early disbursements.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the attached list of disbursements for the period of April 1st, 2021 to April 30th, 2021 for a total amount of $3,745,224.93 in Canadian funds, and that Treasurer Certificate number 21-0085 dated May 4th, 2021 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Early, seconded by Councillor Burku. Any discussion, Councillor Early?
So this was, I would say, was an average month in that we're in the vicinity of 3-4 million, which is our average disbursement. Some of the highlights include a payment and a further payment for the City Hall envelope that is virtually complete, and a payment for an old bond and actually interest on a bond. As mentioned, we have different bonds that are coming up for renewal every once in a while. So those were some of the highlights of the month.
So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? We're carried unanimously. We go to item 6A, Councillor Early.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that bylaw 2574, entitled Bylaw 2574, instituting a financial assistance program for the purchase and installation of a home electric charging station, be and is hereby adopted.
Moved by Councillor Early, seconded by Councillor Gajowski. Any discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just to explain briefly, this is for a $250 credit for residents who have purchased and installed an electric charging station in their homes. And the goal, of course, of this is to try to encourage more and more residents to purchase electric vehicles. I know it's one of the goals of the city. We have a few already, and over the next few years, we'll be purchasing more. And hopefully with this extra $250 incentive, it'll encourage more residents to do that, of course. And just to note, residents also, on top of this, are eligible for grants from the provincial government and the federal government. There are also provincial grants as well for the charger. And just to clarify, you're eligible for the charger grant. It's a $600 grant from the provincial government. You're eligible for that grant and this as well on top of that grant. So again, just to make that clear. And one of the things that was adjusted between the first reading and the latest reading was we adjusted it to include electric vehicles and those that are plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. So if you have a PHEV, so you're also eligible for the grant. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Early. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Oh, Councillor Gajowski wants to speak first. Go ahead, Councillor Gajowski.
Just very briefly, I'm proud of this this bylaw, this grant. I encourage all residents to go and get electric vehicles. We actually purchased our second electric vehicle in my house now. So my wife has a plug-in hybrid minivan, and I have my full electric. So we on council and among senior management have now 4 electric vehicles among us, 2 here, and Councillor Early and Associate City Manager Abramovich. So go get those electric cars. They're fun to drive, and now you have an added.
Councillor Early wants to tell us about his.
If I can add, I'm in a similar boat. We have an electric vehicle and a PHEV, and if I can add, Associate City Manager Abramovich also has an EV and a PHEV. So we're actually three of us, each with 2. Sorry?
We're up to 6 total.
So we're 3 with 6 in total. So hopefully more councillors. Hopefully I'll try to encourage more of our fellow councillors and directors to get electric vehicles.
I say Councillor Burku is next.
Soon there'll be no gas. Okay, so everything's gonna be electric. It's the way of the future. It's good. So that's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried unanimously. And now we move on to the next item, which is 6B. Councillor Early.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the following members of the Côte Saint-Luc City Council be and are hereby authorized to attend, according to their respective availabilities, the conference of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to be held from or around May 31st, 2021 to June 4th, 2021. Mayor Mitchell Brownstein, Councillor Dita Burku, Councillor Michael Cohen. That Treasurer Certificate number TC 21-0071, dated April 27th, 2021, has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to availability of funds to cover the estimated expense for this conference in the amount of $5,000 plus applicable taxes. That furthermore, the city of Côte Saint-Luc will reimburse the reasonable expenses incurred for this purpose upon presentation of receipts for these expenses to the city treasurer.
But that's fine, but the exact amount comes to $2,000, I believe, and there should be no additional expenses because nobody's going anywhere. It's all being done virtually. And I think it's just the registration only times 3.
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, you're correct. I think this was, I guess, reuse of an old motion, but it's the total fees, I believe, are $2,034.
Correct. Okay, so it's been moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Torchman. Any discussion? It's a virtual conference this year due to COVID. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? No one opposed. So it's carried unanimously. And now we move on to the next one, which is item 7A, which is Councillor Kajewski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council ratifies the hiring of the white-collar auxiliary employees whose names are listed on the document entitled Auxiliary Employees White Collars Hiring, dated March 23rd, 2021, and that said employees' terms of employment will be as per the conditions of the collective agreement. That Treasurer's Certificate number 21-0062 dated March 24th, 2021 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
So moved by Councillor Kajewski and seconded by Councillor Ben-Isri. Any discussion?
Just very briefly, it's not often you get to move a resolution that hires, I believe the count is 98 new and returning employees of Côte Saint-Luc. This is the hiring of our day camp counselors, lifeguards for the outdoor pool, which is very exciting. We'll all get out there and enjoy. And the next resolution as well. This is actually tennis attendance as well and pedal boat attendance. The next resolution is several new hires as well.
Okay, and they will all be eligible to get vaccinated. So I encourage them to do so. First vaccination is supposed to be happening soon and the second one before school starts. Okay, so that's been moved by Councillor Kajewski, seconded by Councillor Torchman. Any further discussion?
Sorry, I wasn't seconding. I'm sorry, I just wanted to speak to it. I didn't want to second it.
Okay, who's seconding it? Councillor Ben-Isri. Any discussion? Councillor Torchman.
No, I'm going to be recusing myself from the vote on this because I have children on the list.
Thank you, Councillor Torchman. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Carried with Councillor Torchman recusing himself. Next item is 7B. 7B, Councillor Kajewski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is only 6 employees for a total of 104. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council ratifies the hiring of the white-collar auxiliary employees whose names are listed on the document entitled Auxiliary Employees White Collars Hiring, dated April 26, 2021, and that said employees' terms of employment will be as per the conditions of the collective agreement. That Treasurer Certificate number 21-0075 dated April 29th, 2021 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Kajewski, seconded by Councillor Ben-Isri. Any discussion?
This is the remaining 6 employees who were hired in April, pedal boat attendants, and 2 additional day camp counselors.
It should be noted that where all of the people who are applying are over the age of 14, and under Quebec law, you can make your own decision as of the age of 14 whether you want to get vaccinated or not. Not that we want to cause any problems within families, but hopefully parents will support their kids who make that decision and encourage them to do so. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. Now we move on to the next item, which is C. Councillor Ben-Isri. C.
Yes.
7C.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the hiring of the blue-collar auxiliary employees whose names are listed on the document entitled Auxiliary Employees Blue Collars hiring dated April 23rd, 2021, and that said employee's term of employment will be as per the conditions of the collective agreement. That treasurer's certificate number 21-0074 dated April 29, 2021 has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Ben-Israel, seconded by Councillor Kajowski. Any discussion?
Like I mentioned, is to hire employees, auxiliary employees for Public Works Department.
Right, and there's two here.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried unanimously. And now we move to item 7D. 7D is Councillor Kajowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council ratifies the hiring of Anissa Lee Garbett Cameron as the Coordinator of Community Partnership for a fixed-term contract effective from March 15th, 2021 to March 15th, 2022. That Treasurer's Certificate number 21-0061 dated March 24th, 2021 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Kajowski, seconded by Councillor Ben-Israel. Any discussion?
Of course, and I'm sure you'll want to speak to this as well. The hiring of Anissa is a real find by the Parks and Recreation Department. Anissa has been working with Parks and Recreation for how many years now, Mr. Mayor? 11 years?
Yeah, well, at least 10.
Through the Côte Saint-Luc Dramatic Society. So Anissa will be our new Coordinator of Community Partnership. She'll be expanding her role outside the Dramatic Society, and we welcome her to the department. We're happy to have her.
And she's responsible for a lot of the clubs, I understand, and gardening. And I know that, she loves gardening, so a lot of stuff, and in the arts. And I understand we're going to be trying to do continue all the Côte Saint-Luc Dramatic Society stuff online and some in person. They're hoping to do play readings. I hope to be able to see us doing some things outdoors in our parks if we're allowed. So all good stuff.
It's very exciting.
Moved and seconded, all in favor. Carried unanimously. And now we move to the next one, which is 7E, Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the promotion of Vitaly Gorenko to the new function of Network Administrator effective October 1st, 2020, and that Treasurer Certificate number 21-0063 dated March 24th, 2021 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Kajowski. Any discussion?
So just to explain briefly, so Vitaly is someone who's been working at the city for many years. So what happened was there was I guess an adjustment to his role that was made between the department and the union. So what that means is his position, which was a class 8, has been shifted to a class 10, so a higher level position based on the role and tasks that he will be doing, or that he has been doing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So that's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Councillor Cohen? Carried unanimously, and we move to item F, Councillor Kajowski.
Am I muted? I am. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby approves the title and status change for Herenia Mata from Recreation Coordinator, Contract Management to Coordinator of Administration, Permanent Management, effective April 1st, 2021. That Treasurer's Certificate number 21-0060 dated March 24th, 2021 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
So it's been moved by Councillor Kajowski, seconded by Councillor Ben-Israel. Any discussion?
I think it's self-explanatory. Herenia is an employee in Parks and Recreation. We congratulate her on her now permanent position. And yeah, thank you.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried unanimously, and we move to item G, Councillor Kajowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council ratifies the hiring of Camille Turcotte-Riel and Pierre Magalan effective March 24th, 2021 and Huria Savi, effective April 10th, 2021, as on-call reception, admission, and shop attendants, white-collar auxiliary positions. That treasurer certificate number 21-0076, dated April 29th, 2021, has been issued by the city treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Kajowski, seconded by Councillor Ben-Israel. Any discussion?
Again, it's fairly self-explanatory. These are new hires in reception, admission, and in the shop at the arena.
Okay.
Welcome.
So moved and seconded, all in favor? Carried unanimously, and now we move to the next item, H. Councillor Ben-Israel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council ratifies the hiring of Louis Desjardins as the manager of operation, parks, green spaces, and the environment for a fixed-term contract effective from April 6, 2021 to April 6, 2022. That treasurer's certificate number 21-0077, dated April 29, 2021, has been issued by the city treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Thank you, Councillor Ben-Israel, seconded by Councillor Sabag. Did I see you? Yeah, sure, Councillor Sabag. Okay, any discussion?
Like I mentioned, it's hiring, of the manager of operation for public works. And
Okay,
it's a term contract, fixed-term contract.
very good. So it's been moved and seconded, all in favor? Carried unanimously, and now we move to the next item, which is scrolling down, 7I. 7I, Councillor Ben-Israel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council ratifies the hiring of Emmanuel Petrov as a mechanic permanent blue-collar position effective April 26, 2021. That treasurer's certificate number 21-0079, dated April 29, 2021, has been issued by the treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Ben-Israel, seconded by Councillor Sabag. Any discussion?
It's for public works and the hiring of mechanic permanent blue collar position.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Carried unanimously. We move to item number J, which is Councillor Sabag.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the city of Côte Saint-Luc ratifies the hiring of Vanessa Bonnet as an on-call public security agent, white-collar auxiliary position, effective April 22nd, 2021. The treasurer certificate number 21-0078, dated April 29, 2021, has been issued by the city treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expense.
Moved by Councillor Sabag, seconded by Councillor Ben-Israel. Any discussion? Moved and seconded, all in favor? Carried unanimously, and now we move to item K, Councillor Ben-Israel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council ratifies the title change of permanent management employee Alvin Fishman for section manager, physical education and recreation in the Parks and Recreation Department to arena foreman in the Public Works Department, retroactively effective January 1st, 2021.
So moved by Councillor Ben-Israel, seconded by Councillor Kajowski. Any discussion?
So it's a change of titles, and it will be attached directly to Public Works.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Carried unanimously. We move to item 7L, Councillor Burku.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I have to unmute. Okay. So be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc Council hereby approves the hiring of Christian Janus as a temporary permit agent in the Urban Development Department effective April 5th, 2021, that Treasurer Certificate number 21-0080 dated April 29th, 2021 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Berkoup, seconded by Councillor Sabag. Any discussion?
Yeah, so we did hire Christian Janus as a temporary permit agent because we lost a permit agent and we needed one to work temporarily to fill the role. And we're posting also for more permanent position. So we're trying to fill up those positions. In the meantime, Christian Janus, who retired from the Urban Development Department, has now agreed to come back for a short period of time.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, now the next item, I'm trying to find it on the electronic version. There's so much data here. 1 second. It's good I printed a hard copy. I think I'll read my hard copy. It's easier. Okay, so, or maybe I found it. All right, so this is a resolution, item number legal services 8A, a resolution to allow voting by mail for electors 70 years of age and older for the 2021 municipal elections. And I want to start off by thanking Councillor Cohn for all his input and assistance, but particularly for Maître Prévost, our city clerk, for working very diligently on this file, connecting with the David Birnbaum's office and directly with Mary Claude Nichols, MNA, responsible for municipalities. And she interviewed me in depth to learn all about the city of Côte Saint-Luc. And in her presentation to the National Assembly, she used our city as an example of one that would benefit based on our demographics, having the largest percentage of seniors, and the fact that, you know, we're still in a pandemic and who knows where we're going to be in November, that we would benefit from mail-in ballots. And it was passed unanimously by the National Assembly based on the age of 70 plus. So anybody by over 70 or older will be allowed to vote by mail. And there's a procedure that has been put in force by the DEGQ, and this resolution must be presented by any municipality that wishes to have mail-in ballots before July 1st. So it's May. So there's the May or June meeting. We're doing it right now. I will read it, and Councillor Cohn will, and anybody else who wishes may join in to second it. So whereas the National Assembly of Quebec passed Bill 85 on March 25th, 2021, entitled an act to facilitate the conduct of the November 7th, 2021 municipal general election in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. Whereas the act to facilitate the conduct of the November 7th, 2021 municipal general election in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic authorizes the chief electoral officer to modify by regulation a provision of the act respecting elections and referendums in municipalities, including voting by mail for electors 70 years of age and older. Whereas on April 30th, 2021, the regulation amending certain municipal provisions to facilitate the conduct of the municipal general election of November 7th, 2021, in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic was published on the Gazette Officielle du Québec, whereas the regulation modifies the act to include the possibility to allow voting by mail for electors 70 years of age and older, where a resolution of a municipality is passed by virtue of paragraph 2 of section 659.4 of the Act, whereas the adoption of this resolution by the Côte Saint-Luc Council will satisfy the requirement of the Act to allow voting by mail for Côte Saint-Luc electors 70 years of age and over, whereas it is in the interest of Côte Saint-Luc's democracy that electors have more alternatives to exercise their right to vote, given the city's high population density and the high population of senior citizens, whereas allowing voting by mail is a safe way for electors to exercise their right to vote in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic and will increase voter turnout. Be it resolved that the city of Côte Saint-Luc adopts the present resolution to allow any elector 7 years of age or older to vote by mail as it is permitted by the regulation and the Act. seconded by councillors Cohen, Torgman. I think everybody, put up your hands if you want to second it. So you can put in the note that everybody on our council seconds this resolution. So moved and seconded by all, carried unanimously. And now we move on to the next item, which—
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment, please?
Oh, of course. Councillor Cohen is very involved in this file.
Yes, we spoke very regularly on this. I want to commend you for being very persistent because as the mayor, you have a lot more influence than I did. We worked very closely with Marvin Rotrand, who wanted Montreal to do it. I'll let people make up their own mind, but Ensemble Montréal, Denis Couder's new party, it was in favor of it. Valérie Plante was not. I wonder why. You can make your own guess. The reality is that I want to state that thank you to the Liberals and David Birnbaum, who stepped up. I want to say publicly, I said it last month, I'll say it again. I think that the actions of the Union of Quebec Municipalities, who are supposed to represent us, is shameful. I tried to communicate with the president, who is the mayor of some tiny little hamlet somewhere in Quebec, and she did not really respond. They went to the National Assembly. They basically barely said a word. They didn't speak up. We wanted this to be available for anyone who wanted to go vote by mail, because as we can see, a year ago, more than a year ago, everyone thought, oh, the pandemic will be long over by then. And if you look at what's going in Ontario right now, today, the numbers were good. We have no idea what it's going to be like in the fall. We have no idea if anyone is going to be willing to be a scrutineer, if anyone's going to be willing to, to work at the polls. Are people going to want to go to the polls? We have no idea what's coming to us in November. If we think that life is going to be back to normal in the fall, 2 vaccinations or not, I don't believe it. So the UMQ totally failed us. And I frankly, when it comes up to renewal, I want to really take a look at what they actually do for us. Lip service, and talk about with the union, with the French resolution in terms of the resolution by the Quebec government. The UMQ barely functions at all in English. They don't have anything on their website in English, and they don't have. They have a couple of members of the suburban mayors who we lobbied. So really, they failed us on this because of your leadership. And the Liberals that this happened, and not because of them. So this is over 70. It's a compromise. It's going to help a lot of our residents because we have a very senior population. And now it's going to be our job to publicize it. And Jason, thank you very much for everything you did, and Maitre Schechter, our city manager, and everybody else. So this is definitely a victory for us. But it could have been a bigger victory if the UMQ would have represented us properly. And I hope the president is watching this on YouTube tonight. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cohen. Councillor Torgman.
I think it's great that we're finding ways to increase participation in municipal elections. So the voter voting by mail obviously needs to be requested, and there's a process to follow. There'll also be increased voting by advanced voting days. So we're gonna have to make sure we advertise all of those days as well, so that people are more spread out. There's more days to vote. So, we'll be following all the COVID rules, but it's gonna be very safe to go out and vote as well. So as soon as we have all of those rules and those dates, we'll be making sure to advertise all of that properly as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Torgman. Councillor Erdely.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say I support the cause in terms of voting by mail for those that are eligible 100%. But I just want to clarify one point, that the hope, of course, is still that if everyone goes out and we hope that everyone does go out and get vaccinated before the election, that of course it will be safe for them to go and vote. And the only way that will happen is if everyone does get vaccinated. So I just want to, I know it's been, I think it was Councillor Kajavsky mentioned earlier, and of course the mayor has mentioned it, but I just want to remind by November, it'll be all, not just, well, all adults are eligible, our teenagers will be eligible. And I believe by November, all children, my belief based on what I'm hearing is that all children will be eligible as well, including elementary school and possibly even younger. So I hope everyone does go get vaccinated and will be vaccinated before the election, so that it'll be safe for anyone to go vote in person, but of course have the choice to do it by mail if they so wish. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. We're having a big campaign in Côte Saint-Luc to get people vaccinated from all the specialists who will reassure you of its safety and the reasons why it's very important if we want to get out of this pandemic, that we all play our part, not only for ourselves, but for our neighbors, for our families, and for everyone else. Anybody else want to speak? Okay, so now we will move on to the next item, which is item 9, Public Works. 9A, Councillor Benizri.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Attendu que la ville de Côte Saint-Luc souhaite octroyer un contrat au comité écologique du Grand Montréal pour le contrôle du nerf-train et la restauration de la végétation dans le boisé Ashkelon, attendu que, étant donné que le comité écologique du Grand Montréal est enregistré en tant qu'organisme à but non lucratif conformément à l'article 573.3, alinéa 2.1 de la loi sur les cités et la ville, ce contrat est exempté du processus d'appel d'offres. Alors, il est résolu que le conseil de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc octroie par la présente un contrat pour le contrôle du nerf-train et la restauration de la végétation dans le boisé Ashkelon pour l'année 2021 pour un montant n'excédant pas 73 706,31 $ plus les taxes applicables, que le certificat du trésorier numéro 21-0069 a été émis le 8 avril 2021 pour attester de la disponibilité des fonds nécessaires pour couvrir les dépenses décrites ci-dessus, que la conseillère générale de la ville soit par les présentes autorisée à signer le contrat susmentionné au nom de la ville.
Proposé par le conseiller Benizri et appuyé par le conseiller Sebag. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions? Premièrement, vous devez noter qu'il y avait une erreur et le conseiller Benizri a remarqué que l'année c'est de 2021, ça doit être corrigé dans la résolution. Et il a fait dans son verbal. OK, est-ce qu'il y a des discussions?
No, this is just to allow a contract for the removal of the buckthorn and restoration of vegetation in the Ashkelon forest.
Okay, great. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, and we move to the next item in Public Works. B, Councillor Benizri.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Est résolu que le conseil municipal de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc octroie par la présente un contrat pour l'achat d'un camion-citerne neuf à Globocam Montréal Incorporé, conformément aux conditions de l'appel d'offres C-14-21 pour un montant de 278 322 $, plus les taxes applicables, que les dépenses décrites seront financées par le règlement d'emprunt 2571, intitulé Règlement 2571, autorisant un emprunt de 326 000 $ pour l'achat de véhicules lourds et d'équipements pour véhicules lourds déjà approuvés par le ministère des Affaires municipales et Habitation, que le certificat du trésorier numéro 21-0073 daté du 27 avril 2021 a été émis par le trésorier de la ville attestant la disponibilité des fonds pour couvrir les dépenses décrites.
Proposé par le conseiller Benizri, appuyé par le conseiller Sebag. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions? OK, tout le monde en faveur? Le conseiller Cohen, vous êtes en faveur? Oui. Okay, that passes unanimously, and we move to the next item, which is 9C, Councillor Sebag.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just 9C.
Yeah, I'm looking for it too. Okay,
Yeah, it's not there.
9C, let me see. You look on the tabs, and I see all the support
I see it, but I
documents.
don't see the
Oh yeah, it's there. It's there. You have
Yeah,
to go past
page-
all the support documents, page 291.
291. All right, getting there. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that. That the city of Côte Saint-Luc hereby awards contract for the purchase of 2 police utility hybrid vehicles to the sole bidder of Jacques Olivier Ford Inc. pursuant to tender C-13-21 in the amount of $138,020 plus applicable tax, that the described expense shall be financed from a loan bylaw 2570, entitled bylaw 2570, authorizing the loan of $441,000 for the purchase of vehicle and equipment previously approved by the Ministère des Affaires municipales et de l'Habitation. That Treasurer Certificate number 210072 dated April 27th, 2021 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expense.
Thank you, Councillor Sabag, seconded by Councillor Ben-Isri. Any discussion?
We're rejuvenating fleet for public safety. So that's two hybrid vehicles. I know Councillor Erdely and I spoke earlier today. We'd love to see some EV vehicles. I'm glad he's supporting this motion. Yeah, this is a purchase moving towards a greener format.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried unanimously. And now we move to the next items, which are items 12, urban development, engineering, item 10A, urban development engineering, Councillor Ben-Isri for the first one.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby awards a contract to Construction Moriva Limited for the Public Works Yard renovation contractor service in accordance with the terms of tender number C-08-20-21C for a total amount of $1,108,909 plus 30 cents plus 30 cents plus applicable taxes. That furthermore, the city may consider an amount of 5% plus applicable taxes for any potential contingencies and extras, if required, that shall first be approved according to the city's procedures. That 1 million of the described expenses should be financed from the loan bylaw 2568 entitled bylaw 2568, authorizing a loan of $1,050,000 for renovation to the public works yard situated at 7001 Michael Road, previously approved by the MAM. That the remainder of $164,354.30 should be financed from the city unrestricted surplus account. That Treasurer Certificate number 21-0082 dated April 30, 2021 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Ben-Isri, seconded by Councillor Torjman. Any discussion?
So this is this is a contract, to renovate the public works yard. To be able to give to this, to this contractor.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? We're carried unanimously. And now we move to the next item, in urban development engineering, number 10B, Councillor Torjman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby awards a contract to FNX Innov Inc. for the professional services for the upgrading of the public street lights on Mackle Road between Cavendish Boulevard and Einstein Avenue, a total amount of $29,500 plus applicable taxes. That furthermore, the council may consider an amount of 10% plus applicable taxes for any potential contingencies and extras, if required, that shall first be approved according to the city's procedures. That the described expenses shall be financed from the loan bylaw 2562 entitled bylaw 2562, authorizing a loan of $179,000, including professional fees for the purchase and installation of various traffic lights and LED street lights at various locations in the territory of Côte Saint-Luc, previously approved by the Ministère des Affaires municipales et Habitation. That Treasurer Certificate number 21-0083 dated April 30, 2021 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Torjman, seconded by Councillor Ben-Isri. Any discussion?
So we have a series of street lights that are called the Cobra lights that are made out of concrete. And so this company, FNX Innov, is an engineering company, is going to evaluate all of those, see which ones need to be changed, and see if we need to increase the amount of lighting. and just be our consultants throughout this project because we need to upgrade those lights as well.
Thank you, Councillor Torchman. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And then we move to the next item in engineering, which is 10C. Councillor Torchman.
Mr. Mayor, that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby awards a contract to Pro Ballast Inc. for the purchase of 6 light poles for Kildare and Kellert traffic lights for a total amount of $29,037 plus applicable taxes, that the described expenses shall be financed from the loan bylaw 2542 entitled Bylaw 2542, authorizing a loan of $1,796,000. Repeat that, $1,796,000 for the purchase and installation of various traffic lights and LED lights at various locations, including professional services in the territory of the city of Côte Saint-Luc, previously approved by the Ministère des Affaires Municipales et Habitation, that Treasury Certificate number 21-0070, dated April 26, 2021, has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Torchman, seconded by Councillor Ben Isri. Any discussion?
And so this is just a pre-purchase of lighting for Kildare and Kellert, because we're going to be changing our traffic lights at that intersection.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? No one opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to the next item, which is awarding of a contract for shade structure in Fletcher Park. So Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby awards a contract for the purchase and installation of a shade structure at Fletcher Park to Tessier Recreo Park for a total amount of $37,413 plus applicable taxes. That furthermore, the council may consider an amount of 5% plus applicable taxes for any potential contingencies and extras, if required, that shall be first approved according to the city's procedures, that the described expenses shall be financed from the operating budget, and that Treasurer Certificate number 21-0081, dated April 30th, 2021, has been issued by the City Treasurer, attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Thank you, Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Torchman, I believe. Any other discussion?
So just to explain briefly, and maybe I'll...
That's the picture, eh? That's it? Is that the one?
Oh, are you sharing your screen, or?
I mean, I could if you wish.
Maybe I'll share my screen just to
Go
show.
Do it.
Just give me 1 second here. So I'll share my screen just to show what it's going to look like.
Sure.
So it's basically for a shade structure that's in the shape of a hexagon, so a 6-sided shape. It's 35 feet across, and this will be placed sort of in that grassy area where, I hate to say it, often the grass doesn't survive because there's a lot of use. But basically Fletcher Park, I'll take this down. Fletcher Park is, I would say, and I don't know if anyone could argue this point, but Fletcher Park is the most used park per, let's say, square foot or square meter in all of Côte Saint-Luc. There's more children in the area that are using it on a day compared, if we compare it even to parks 5-10 times its size. So this is part of a plan that involves a grant proposal from the federal government through the Healthy Community Grant. And I want to thank our Associate City Manager, Tanya Bramvich, and Councillor Burku, and many of the staff who are behind getting the grant proposal done. We're hoping to receive the grant. In the meantime, what we're doing is purchasing and installing a shade structure. So this shade structure will be one that'll be used, of course, can be used for residents, can be used for children in the area. We're also going to have, during the summer, we had a little bit of this in the past, but this summer, Monday to Friday, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., there'll be an animator in the park as well to help organize activities. And the goal with this grant is to be able to do much more, to have a satellite library there, art activities, drama activities, different activities. And of course, part of the grant is to get feedback from the residents in the area as to what activities they would like. But this will be a space that can be used for different purposes. And of course, it'll add shade to an area where there is not as much. And the goal just for the summer is to get children outside as much as possible. We know it's safer outside in terms of COVID than inside, and we want to keep them active and safe. So I hope to have more news on this, but this is a good first step in the meantime. Thank you.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, so moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Torchman, carried unanimously. And now we move on to the next item.
Mr. Mayor, can I just jump in to say that the YouTube chat is now open? So if you do want to submit a question, please refresh the page and you could enter your question, and we're going to answer it a bit later on in the meeting.
Right, so you may put down your questions. They'll be answered at the end of the meeting, but there'll be more than enough time for people to ensure that they get their questions in before the meeting ends. So feel free to mark them down, and we'll be ready to answer them after the meeting. So now we move on. Thank you for that, Maître Provost. Now we're going to move on to Urban Development, Urban Planning Division, which is Councillor Burku, item 11.1A.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm going to ask Councillor Erdely to post the perspective. The first item is 6518 Merton. I can read it in French. Que le plan d'implantation et d'intégration architecturale montrant l'ajout d'une deuxième étage à une habitation unifamiliale isolée sur le lot 156 07 54 au 65 18 Merton est préparé par Rium Architecture pour la réunion du comité consultatif d'urbanisme du 31 mars 2021 soit approuvé conformément aux dispositions du chapitre 14 du règlement 2217 de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc. So what I see on the screen is the perspective of the new home. Basically, the addition is the one that you see above the main entrance. And I have to thank our PAC committee for working with all the applicants now, and especially Melanie Rothpan, who's doing such a great job working with applicants and architects who are presenting additions and renovation projects, making it so that it looks really integrated and a very natural extension. And it's going to look very nice at the corner of Merton and Randall.
Thank you. So it's been moved by Councillor Burku and seconded by, who's seconded it? I think anybody can. Councillor Torchman. Any other discussion? All in favor? So it's carried unanimously. And then we move to item 11.1B, Councillor Burku of 7946 Wable. You're frozen, I believe. Councillor Burku got frozen. All that excitement about that. No, you're back. We get to see the stuff, but we don't get to see Councillor Burku, except she's in a good position. It's frozen. I don't know. Okay, so Councillor Burku's frozen. How would Councillor? Maybe she's coming back somewhere else. Otherwise, I'm gonna.
I said I was having a.
Oh, I got it. We saw. You were stuck in a very nice picture, but you couldn't move. You look good though. You look good. Okay.
Well, I'll try one more time, and if it keeps back and forth, I don't know. It's that time of night. I don't know what happens. Okay, so this is Wavell. I'm going to read the resolution very quickly, and if I get stuck again, then someone else can take over. So Wavell, we're talking about Yavne, the school, and basically the resolution is as follows: that the site planning and architectural integration program showing modifications of the temporary structure at École Yavne on lot 105-1943 at 7946 Wavell, and prepared by Monsieur Eladad for the Planning Advisory Committee of March 31st, 2021, be approved according to the provisions of Chapter 14 of Bylaw 2217 of the City of Côte Saint-Luc. And what you see on the screen, I think we've shown the 4 pages that we were talking about before. This is the back. And this is the side. And if you scroll back up, Stephen, this is the front. And this is the diagram, the red dotted area, the area which is surrounded by the red dots is basically what was added to the original proposed extension. We're now ratifying it. Okay, originally we agreed to an extension last year. And then when they did the extension, they kind of added a little bit to it in the back. And we feel that it's okay, so we're ratifying it. Unfortunately, it should have been done from the beginning, but.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's been moved by Councillor Burku, and it's going to be seconded by Councillor Ben-Isri. Any other discussion? All in favor? And Councillor Cohen? You're in favor? Anyone opposed? Councillor, so it's passed with Councillor Kajowski dissenting. Okay, we move to the next one, which is 11.
May I just very briefly, Mr. Mayor? Say one thing
100%.
about,
Yes.
Sure. Go ahead.
I'll be very brief. I think it's wonderful that a school like a neighborhood school like Yavne is growing at the pace that it is, that it's in as high demand as it is. But that said, we have to be mindful about how temporary structures very often become permanent in our city, and how large a residential school gets in an area that has a significant impact on the residents. So that said, I do think it's great that Yavne it's a fantastic school, and I love that it's growing. But I think we have to begin working closely with the head of school and the administration of school to, does get any bigger, to find a location that is more suited for a school that's. Thank you.
Okay. So it says pass with Councillor Kajowski dissenting, and we move to the next item, which is 6524 Bailey. Councillor Burku.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So be it resolved that in accordance with the provisions of bylaw G18-0005, the request for a minor exemption regarding the property located at 6524 Bailey, lot 1560732 be and is hereby approved. The whole is more amply delineated hereunder. The request is related to the construction of a pool on the property of an existing detached single-family dwelling and is to allow for the following. A, the construction of a patio to be located in the lateral yard with a portion extending into the front yard as opposed to the patio being located at the rear of the main building. And B, the installation of a 6-foot high fence at a minimum distance of 10 feet from the front lot line as opposed to being no more than 3 feet in height above the sidewalk or curb level when placed within 15 feet from the front land line. The whole notwithstanding the provisions of zoning bylaw 2217, Article 4-4-5C and Article 8.2.
Okay.
So I'm just going to explain this briefly by referring to the diagram. So this property is on Bailey at the corner of Randall, and the property which you don't see, but which is on basically on the hypotenuse of this, well, I don't know, on the long side of this four-sided is on Randall. The residents, the neighbors were consulted, but because of the weird shape of this property, because they don't have a lot of a backyard, but they have a big side yard, these new owners would like to put the pool in the side yard. So the pool is basically conforming, but what is not conforming is the distance from the front property line. And that's what we're giving the minor exemption for the fence to be a little bit closer. And keep in mind that there is a 6-foot hedge, which definitely camouflages the visibility of the pool and is, so it's not apparent from the street.
Okay. All right, so moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by. Who'd like to second this? Councillor Sabag. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously, and now we move on to the next item, which is the stance to be presented at the next Aglo Council meeting. Councillor Sabag.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just gonna scroll down here. For some reason, it's not going. Sorry, guys.
360.
Pardon me?
360.
Thank you. I'm there, but it's just, I can't find it. Okay. That the council, be it resolved that the council following stance in view of the any agglomeration council meetings to be held on June 2021 as followed, to authorize the mayor or his duly authorized replacement to make any decisions he deems necessary and in the best interest of the city of Côte Saint-Luc and its residents regarding the items on the agenda of the agglomeration council meeting to be held in June 2021 based on the information to be presented during those meetings.
Thank you, Councillor Sabag, seconded by Councillor Torchman. Any discussion? All in favor? All in favor, Councillor Burku, Mr. Frozen. I think all in favor except for Councillor Burku, who's probably in favor, but she's frozen again. I suggest you turn off your camera and turn it on again. Technology in the COVID era. And now, before we go into the question period, we have other business, which is a resolution. There was a question at the beginning of the meeting regarding bilingual status. As I responded, the city has taken always a very strong position on maintaining our bilingual status. And we will be presenting the following resolution now, which speaks for itself, which I will read both in French and in English. So there, we can go right into it, Maître Schechter, without having to put it on the agenda, and we'll just vote on it, or do I need to have a first vote to put it on? Maître Prévost. I think it's okay.
Yes, if everybody's in agreement, we could just go right ahead in the reading.
Very good. Okay, so here we go. Attendu que la Charte de la langue française a été adoptée par l'Assemblée nationale du Québec en 1977 et que plus de 80 municipalités dans la province de Québec ont été reconnues comme ayant un statut bilingue en vertu des dispositions de l'article 29.1 de la Charte, et attendu que les dispositions initiales de la Charte permettaient aux municipalités dont une majorité de résidents parlaient une langue autre que le français d'être officiellement reconnus en vertu de l'article 29.1. Et attendu que la ville de Côte Saint-Luc est reconnue comme ayant un statut bilingue en vertu de l'article 29.1 de la Charte depuis 1977 et qu'elle désire conserver ce statut bilingue, et attendu qu'actuellement la Charte ne permet pas que la reconnaissance du statut bilingue en vertu de l'article 29.1 soit retirée à une municipalité ou un arrondissement, à moins que la municipalité ou l'arrondissement concerné en fasse la demande. Et attendu que l'Assemblée nationale du Québec a adopté la loi 170 qui imposait les fusions forcées aux municipalités en 2000 et qu'elle a adopté en même temps la loi 171 qui modifiait considérablement les critères de reconnaissance prescrits par l'article 29.1 de la Charte, soit d'une majorité de résidents d'une municipalité ou d'un arrondissement parlant une langue autre que le français, à une majorité de résidents de langue maternelle anglaise. Et attendu que les critères révisés en vertu de la loi 171 ont été imposés sans consultation préalable avec les municipalités reconnues en vertu de l'article 29.1 selon la définition la plus étroite et la plus inexacte des communautés de langue anglaise au sein des dites municipalités et aux dites arrondissements. Attendu que la charte de la langue française accorde aux municipalités ayant un statut bilingue le soin de déterminer si elles veulent abandonner ce statut et cela n'a jamais été fait. Et en 2013, lorsque le Parti québécois a cherché à réviser les règles pour retirer ce pouvoir aux municipalités, la coalition Avenir Québec et le Parti libéral du Québec ont clairement indiqué que c'était aux municipalités et non au gouvernement du Québec de déterminer si ce statut devait un jour être abandonné. Attendu que la ville de Côte Saint-Luc est préoccupée par les commentaires récents du ministère responsable de la langue française du Québec, lequel a déclaré qu'il envisageait des changements à la charte de la langue française en lien avec le statut bilingue des municipalités, qui pourrait mettre en danger le statut bilingue des municipalités comme Côte Saint-Luc, indépendamment du fait que lors de récemment de 2017, 67,1% de la population a déclaré que l'anglais était leur première langue officielle parlée. Il est résolu que la ville de Côte Saint-Luc déclare par la présente qu'elle désire conserver le statut bilingue qui lui a été reconnu en vertu de l'article 29.1 de la Charte et ce maintenant et à l'avenir, tel que garanti lorsque ce droit a été accordé lors de l'adoption de la Charte en 1977. Que les résidents et les conseils de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc considèrent la reconnaissance de notre municipalité en vertu de l'article 29.1 comme essentielle au caractère de la municipalité et comme le témoignage de la présence historique des deux communautés anglophones et francophones dans la municipalité. Que la ville de Côte Saint-Luc opposera vigoureusement à toute modification proposée à l'article 29.1 de la Charte et demande à l'Assemblée nationale du Québec de continuer de reconnaître les droits acquis de toutes les municipalités et de tous les arrondissements qui bénéficient actuellement de ce statut et qu'elle évite d'adopter toute loi permettant de retirer à une municipalité ou à un arrondissement la reconnaissance du statut bilingue en vertu de l'article 29.1, sauf à l'initiative et à la demande expresse de la dite municipalité ou du dit arrondissement. Que la ville de Côte Saint-Luc demande à son greffier d'envoyer copie de cette résolution à tous les membres de l'Assemblée nationale du Québec, à toutes les autres municipalités du Québec officiellement reconnues en vertu de l'article 29.1 de la Charte, aux membres du Parlement fédéral et aux commissaires aux langues officielles du Canada, ainsi que l'UMQ, la FQM et la FCM. C'est proposé par moi et appuyé par le conseiller Early et le conseiller Cohn. OK. Et tous les conseillers qui veulent l'appuyer peuvent mettre leur main haut. You can vote in favor of it. We can put anybody down who wishes. Okay, and I will, for the sake of everybody who understands English better, and we provide both English and French services, read the resolution now in English. And in English, it is written as follows. Whereas the charter of the French language was adopted by the Quebec National Assembly in 1977, and more than 80 municipalities throughout the province of Quebec were recognized as having bilingual status, pursuant to the provisions of Article 29.1 of the Charter. And whereas the original provisions of the Charter allowed those municipalities that had a majority of residents who spoke a language other than French to be officially recognized under Section 29.1. And whereas the city of Côte Saint-Luc has been recognized as having bilingual status under Section 29.1 of the Charter since 1977 and wishes to retain such bilingual status. And whereas currently the Charter does not allow the recognition of bilingual status under Section 29.1 to be removed from a municipality or borough, except at the request of such municipality or borough. And whereas the Quebec National Assembly adopted Bill 170 imposing forced municipal mergers on municipalities in the year 2000 and simultaneously adopted companion legislation Bill 171, which drastically changed the criteria to obtain recognition under 29.1 of the Charter from a majority of residents of a municipality or borough who spoke a language other than French to a majority of residents whose mother tongue was English. And whereas the revised criteria under Bill 171 was imposed without consultation with municipalities recognized under Section 29.1, and adopted the narrowest and most inaccurate definition of English-speaking communities within said municipalities or boroughs. And whereas the Charter of the French language leaves it to municipalities with bilingual status to determine if they ever wanted to abandon bilingual status, and none ever has. And in 2013, when the Parti Québécois sought to revise the rules to remove this power from municipalities, the Coalition Avenir du Québec and the Quebec Liberal Party made it clear that it should be up to municipalities and not the Quebec government to determine if this status should ever be relinquished. Whereas the city of Côte Saint-Luc is concerned by recent comments by Quebec's minister responsible for the French language, who stated he is considering changes to the charter of the French language related to bilingual status of municipalities, which could put bilingual status of municipalities like Côte Saint-Luc in danger, irrespective of the fact that in the 2016 census, 67.1% of the population declared that English was their first official language spoken. Be it resolved that the city of Côte Saint-Luc hereby declares that it wishes to retain its bilingual status, recognition under Section 29.1 of the Charter now and in the future, as was guaranteed when given that right, when the Charter was adopted in 1977. That the residents and council of the city of Côte Saint-Luc view the recognition of our municipality under Section 29.1 as fundamental to the charter of the municipality and a testament to the historical presence of both English and French-speaking communities in our municipality. That the city of Côte Saint-Luc will vigorously oppose any modification to Section 29 of the charter and demands that the Quebec National Assembly continue to recognize the acquired rights of all municipalities and boroughs that currently possess such status and refrain from adopting any legislation that allows Section 29.1, recognition of bilingual status, to be removed from a municipality or borough except at the initiative of an express request of said municipality or borough. That the city of Côte Saint-Luc directs its clerk to send copies of this resolution to all the members of the Quebec National Assembly, to all municipalities in Quebec officially recognized under Section 29.1 of the Charter, and to the local federal member of Parliament and the Commissioner of Official Languages of Canada and the UMQ, FQM, and FCM. So moved and seconded by, you can all raise your hands if you will support it, and it will be seconded by the entire council, including Councilor Burke shaking her head. You can put your hand up. It's okay. All right, good. Okay. So I think that speaks for itself. And if anybody wants more information on our position, there's an op-ed in the Gazette tomorrow that I wrote and is being printed. It's online now. But basically, we will work with the Association of Suburban Mayors. I want to thank immensely Director Darrell Levine. He was very involved in 2013 in this file with former Mayor Anthony Housefather, the Association of Suburban Mayors, and Mayor Philip Roy. I know it was Mayor Housefather and Mayor Roy who went to the National Assembly to state our position and the position of the ASM with respect to maintaining bilingual status. And it was the CAQ who supported that position. And the minority government, the Parti Québécois minority government legislation did not pass because the CAQ and the Liberals supported that position, that it should not be taken away and that only a municipality could revoke their own municipal, the bilingual status on request, but it should not be able to be taken away. Okay, so that's that one. And now we move into, I think, question period. Unless anybody else wants to say anything, we move to question period. Maître Provost.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have 2 questions. The first question is from Allison Weinberger. When can residents begin installing electric car chargers to be eligible for the financial assistance program?
Anyone who installed a charging station as of January 1st, 2021 is eligible for the 250 grant. So yeah, I guess you can do it anytime now. It's as of January 1st, 2021. Second question.
Yep. The second question is from Simon Arzois regarding the lights on Cavendish. If Kildare and Mackle are synced with the avenue, we should not have this problem since they can all have the same criteria. The intersections are the same configuration.
Okay, I'll try to explain it as clearly as I understand it from the professionals. The problem is the crosswalk buttons. So what happens if you push a crosswalk button at one location, whether it's Kildare and Cavendish, or the Avenue and Cavendish, or Mackle and Cavendish, it doesn't allow for extra red lights everywhere. It just allows for an extra time for the person who needs to pass the street and cross to have extra time to do so. So because of that, because of not wanting to delay everybody in their car at all the other intersections, when somebody pushes, for example, the button on Mackle, make everybody else wait on all the other lights for that extra time because one guy pushed the button at Mackle. If you don't do that and make everybody wait for the guy at Mackle, you make the people at the Avenue wait, and you make the people at Kildare wait. If you don't do that, then everything goes out of sync. But the people who don't have the guy crossing the street don't like waiting the extra 60 seconds or whatever it is to help the guy in the wheelchair or with the cane get across the street. So it's a very difficult street because we have 3 intersections where you can push a button in slow traffic, and we only delay the lighting at that intersection not to bother everybody else. So you do have to wait a long time at various intersections, but we can't get it perfectly right for all of them without making it even longer for people if one guy pushes the button at one of those intersections and everybody else has to wait longer. It would be even longer a wait. Then we can get it all synchronized, but people would be waiting even longer than they are now. So it's really tough. Either you wait longer than you are now, or it's not perfectly synchronized. That's what the specialists tell me. Not good news, but that's what I'm told. I'm not an engineer. We've had this checked so many times. It's very frustrating for drivers. I agree. I'm one of them. Any other questions?
Yes, we have 2 more questions. First one from George Grossman. Can you give an update on the renovation status of Kerwin Park?
Renovation status of Kerwin Park. Okay, so the renovations of status of Kerwin Park. Would you like to go with that? Sure, Councillor Kajowski can go first. If you miss anything, I'll add. Go for it.
Sure. Mr. Grossman could be referring to 2 separate projects, one that has begun and one that has not. If he's talking about the replacement of the light poles at Kerwin, so that's ongoing. And I believe they're wrapping it up in the next month, unless you know more, Mr. Mayor. The other one is obviously the major renovation of Kerwin Park that we announced a grant for last month. So that they're just finishing up the specs in engineering, the project manager. They're going to be in touch with the consultant, I believe, this week to hopefully go out to tender by June, in which case we would receive the bids in July and be able to award the contract and hopefully, optimistically, start the project in August.
Right, so the goal is to break ground this late summer, early fall, and to finish it by next fall. So it's a whole long year renovation, but it's going to be gorgeous, and we're looking forward to it. Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, we have another question from Simon Arzois. Does the city have a plan regarding the reopening of the arena once the provisional measures allow it? And I believe the resident is speaking specifically about ice hockey rentals.
Yes, we do have a plan to open up all of our facilities according to the rules allowed by Santé Publique. We're told right now that the rules are going to be similar to what they were last year when things were allowed to be reopened. So right now we're allowed to reopen things like our outdoor pool, and we have a library opening plan, and we will be having a arena opening plan as well, for sure. I'm told that the hours might not be as much as in the winter, based on demand, but they'll be open. They'll be open for the arena. Any other questions? Okay.
I believe that covers it. Yeah, no more questions.
Well, good job, Major Prevost. Hopefully we opened up the chat early enough to get them all in. So if there's no further questions, I'm going to ask somebody to move to adjourn.
So moved. Moving to adjourn.
Seconded by Councillor Cohn. All in favor? All in favor of adjournment? We are adjourned, and I wish everybody a wonderful evening.